You know, I'm surprised it's taken me this long to talk about this style of novel. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and as always guys, I am Andrew, and today I am here to talk about the web serial novels. But before we get into this, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it does help the channel grow, and you can check the description box down below for links to all my social media, including links to the Wizards Enclave Discord, and links to my Patreon if you want to help support what I do here. It is always appreciated, but never mandatory. And that said, guys, I want to kind of share and kind of spew forth some of my love for web serials. And if you don't know what a web serial is, essentially, like, there was a couple sites, and I don't know if they're still in operation. That's the word I'm looking for. I don't know if they're still in operation. However, there was Wattpad, and then there was Royal Road. And I'm sure there's a few others, as well as some privately hosted websites, where you could go and you could get, like, a weekly to twice weekly chapter. This is mostly kind of fallen out of favor, but some places still do it. We're going to talk about a couple. Mainly, I want to touch on 5 series to talk about. I've read 4 of these, and I'm going to mention the 5th, because I know if I don't, y'all are going to drop in the comments and tell me about it. And trust me, I know. I just have to find the time to get to them. But yeah, so the 5 we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about Mark of the Fool. We're going to talk about Superpowers. We're going to talk about The Wandering Inn. We're going to talk about Mother of Learning. And then the one that I haven't read is Worm. And of those 5, I've read 4, like I just mentioned. And I loved every single one. And I don't know what it is about a web serial that I love so much. Because in case of Superpowers, we'll start with Superpowers because it was the start of my journey pretty much in self-pub. Because a lot, if not all, of the web serial stuff is self-pub. And it's transitioned. If it's been collected and novelized, it's still self-pub. I think I know of maybe one that's gone semi-traditional, and that's Mother of Learning. But we're going to start with Superpowers, and essentially we follow. All of these are basically progression. So I don't know if like the web serial lends itself very well to progression fantasy, but it seems to. And essentially, Superpowers starts out with very low stakes. We've got these kids who are supers, they can't control their powers, and then they undergo a mysterious procedure to then become supers, and they start attending superhero college. And from there, we go through the 4 years of them being at college and learning how to fight and how to use their powers and build relationships and discover this deeper mystery, and it's very great. And what I loved about Superpowers is it started as a web serial. And then the author Drew Hayes, who I've talked to and I've interviewed, you can check that up right there, he kind of signed a contract with Amazon through Kindle Unlimited and started kind of putting them up on Kindle Unlimited and collected years. And I believe they were already collected into a novel and then formatted. So he did that, and so Amazon wanted him to take it off of, I believe, his own personal website. This one was not on like Wattpad or Royal Road. And from there, the last book, I think, was mostly done or had just been finished when all of this happened. I started reading it right when the contract was signed, and I can't remember if that was towards the end of year 4. I think it was like mid to towards the end of year 4 of that series. And I just love this series because it's done in such a way, because it's, you know, you get 1 chapter to 2 chapters a week. And so they got to be short, they got to be digestible. These are not going to be big, ginormous chapters. And so with Superpowers, I could just roll through. And the main problem you're going to run into with web serials, which can be kind of shown and then explained further on, is they're going to be bigger books, because you're not writing to novelize, you're writing to tell and entertain on a kind of timeline. So, like, you know, people constantly tune into the website and read your chapter at a scheduled time, or they're playing catch up. And so you're going to get bigger, chunkier books. Superpowers Year 4 isn't even able to be printed into a paperback. And then, you know, luckily, one that is available to be done in physical copy, sort of, The first two are available in physical, and then like Kickstarters are being done. That's Mother of Learning. Mother of Learning follows this kind of wizard kid who is very just fair to middling in his magic class. He's got this kind of prodigy of an older brother whose shadow is constantly looming over him. Zorian is just kind of this mid-lister, and so he's going through his second year, first semester of his mage school, and all of a sudden, he gets attacked by a lich, and his town gets attacked, and he gets struck with some soul magic, binding his soul to somebody else, and ends up in a time loop that he was unaware of, and from then has to figure out how to get out of the time loop, and kind of make relationships, and then maintain those relationships while maintaining a time loop, because every month it resets, and they never remember that they're friends with him, so he's got to remember a whole lot. And I love that one because I believe this one was a Royal Road. It was like a Royal Road sensation. And this one's been picked up by Wraithmark Creative. So there are ebooks available, and then they've been doing Kickstarters to get physical editions, which are on their way. I had to support them because I loved Mother of Learning. I've read this one and Superpowers. These two are complete. The other two that I'm going to talk about, I haven't finished yet. But essentially what I love about Mother of Learning, and what I love about the free-form process of kind of doing these web serials, is it's chapter at a time. Like when you're writing this, it's one chapter, next chapter, one chapter, next chapter. There is no, I'm gonna write like most novelists. They can write however they want. They can write the beginning, or they can start with the end, or they can do all sorts of stuff. But with a web serial, you've got to keep a consistent story going. So it's quite literally, by design, one chapter after the next, marching through this story, and you've got to pull the reader through. And it does lead to a different reading experience, because unlike having something that's been fully crafted before it's ever given to the reader, you've got to develop a sort of skill, almost, to make sure to hook somebody every single chapter, to make sure that you get return eyes to keep coming back to watch this story unfold. And so it's a little different than a traditional or even a self-pubbed novel, in that it's a different way of writing entirely, and it's something that I have a lot of respect for. One that I'm currently working on that's also a Royal Road darling is Mark of the Fool by J.M. Clark. And this one follows Alex Pierce, I believe is his name. And this is a boy who was on his way to, he's finally gotten out. His parents died young. He's gotten out from a bad job. And he's just turning 18. And he's about to go join the best mage school in the world / nation. And all of a sudden, he becomes one of a group of prophesied warriors. Because this nation is always besieged by this reoccurring villain every 100 years. And so on the 18th birthday, whenever this villain reappears, a mark will appear. And then there's a range. You can either be the big bad mage user, the big bad warrior, the chosen one. There's 4 or 5 of them. But there's also a utility character who reads the maps and cooks the meals and does all that, called the Fool. And that's what Alex gets picked as. And that comes with some very negative setbacks of, you can't learn combat. It inhibits magic use, which, if you're on your way to go join a magic school, is problematic. And so far, I'm about 2 volumes into this. And again, this utilizes a strange structure, because, from my understanding, I haven't read the 3rd book yet. I'm actually getting ready to read the 3rd book this month. But the 1st book and the 2nd book all take place within the first mage year, or the first school year of being a mage. And Alex is already just running past his peers because he's found cool workarounds to get around his handicap. And I really enjoy that. But it does end on a cliffhanger. If you're going to kind of cut up a web novelization or a web serial to be more digestible, it might lead to some awkward cuts if it was never meant to be that way. And that's kind of what's happened here with Mark of the Fool. But it's an enjoyable story, and right now there's enough where you can just read the first 3 books. I think book 4 is getting ready to come out here I think it's out on ebook, and then the audiobook is being recorded. And so it's fantastic stuff. The next one that I'm currently reading is The Wandering Inn. I almost said The Pirate Inn because it's Pirate Abba, who is writing this, so I almost mixed author name with series title or series name. And this is where it starts to showcase how inventive and crazy and out of control these series can get in a good way. The Wandering Inn, if you don't already know, is 3 times longer than the Wheel of Time. And like One Piece, it's still not done. So it's 11 million words-ish at the time of recording. If you're watching this in the future, it may be much, much larger, or it may be done. Who knows? But this is one of those ones where, like, I instantly started Volume 1, and I was immediately sucked in. It's just very digestible. You can get in deep to the characters. It, like, sucks you into their characterization, into the conflicts, into their squabbles, into their problems. And I'm absolutely loving it. I'm about halfway through Volume 1, so I can't do a full in-depth book review on it at this time, but I am planning to pretty much just binge this whole series, which is insane because 11 million words roughly translates to about 16,000 pages, and it's only about half to 2/3 done, if what the community is telling me is correct. It's very good. I've been doing some kind of shorts. I'll link those in the description box down below, just kind of like what it's like to read Wandering Inn. They're very non-spoiler. It's just literally me acting out a scene and then giving no context behind it. But it's been a great experience. It's been great kind of interacting with the community. And Wandering Inn is kind of where I want to kind of showcase the community of the web serial. Because these rely on return viewers, they build up a very loyal and dedicated fan base. And those fan bases, 9 times out of 10, are very, very welcoming. And it's so great to just, like, all of a sudden discover something that you're like, oh, this is really cool, and then just get swarmed with a bunch of people who agree with you, and you can they're gonna like be like, oh, what are you looking for? Do you have theories? Let's keep this non-spoiler. We want you to enjoy your read. We really want you to fall in love with this series just like we have. The communities have been amazing, and when I say 9 times out of 10, I haven't found the community that has been unwelcoming. I'm just saying 9 out of 10 to cover my bases, just in case there is one that isn't welcoming. But in my experience, every time I start talking about a beloved web serial, it's just like, oh yeah, we love that. Oh yeah, we love that. We hope you enjoy it. Like, it's just been fascinating and really great getting to know the community. I mean, the bare bones is basically we've got 2 human girls in their 20s who have somehow ended up in a fantasy/gamelet setting. They took some wrong turns, got a little lost, and all of a sudden, they start leveling and kind of having to survive in a world that is not their own. So that's the pitch for Wandering Inn. But Worm, I don't know a whole lot about Worm, only that it's really long, it's really chunky, and one of the cool things I've heard about Worm is that the community has been doing a collected audiobook. So where, like, random people in the community, fans of the series, can each record a chapter and then compile it. And so you'll get some good performances, you'll get some not so good performances, but it's definitely something I want to check out because I've heard Worm is like, if I remember the pitch correctly, it's been a while. I should have looked it up before I started recording. That would have been the smart thing to do, but I didn't do that. And so essentially, it's like, what if somebody wanted to be a hero but wasn't cut out to be a hero, so instead they just joined the villains, or the heroes wouldn't let them join, and so they just joined the villains instead and then became the master villain. I think there's a Worm and a Worm 2, but I'm not entirely sure. Again, this is one I have not explored, but I think I will. I don't think. Once I'm done probably with Wandering Inn, I'll probably check out Worm. But yeah, no, these are all great books, great experiences, and they're done differently than a traditional or a self-pub standard novel is, just because of the way that they are created, and they are written one chunk right after the other. There is no jumping around. You can still outline and kind of know where your story is supposed to be going, but I mean, the dedication of these authors to consistently pump out new material one chunk at a time and then compile it and make it available to the readers, I just find it really fascinating. And yeah, This is kind of my thoughts on it, why I love it, and what makes it so good. Let me know if you've read any of these in the comments section down below. I'd love to have a good old discussion with you. And as always, till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my wizard masters, my wizard apprentice, my wizard journeyman, and my wizard adepts. Thank you. I could not do this without you.